Hello, love bugs. Welcome to CEO Sister Talk. We are live tonight with a special guest. I am your host, Rebecca Lynn Pope, and tonight I am going to be joined by a surprise CEO sister. Hello, everyone, as you're coming on. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to CEO Sister Talk. We are back for another live installment. I'm so excited because tonight I'm going to be joined by another one of my CEO sisters, Dr. Jada Moore-Ruffin. Dr. Jada was not able to join us tonight. Congratulations to her son from graduating from high school, going to college this fall. Congratulations, Clarissa. And instead, we have another CEO sister on CEO Sister Talk tonight. This is Dr. Jada Moore-Ruffin. Dr. Jada, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hello, thank you for having me tonight. Making sure y'all can see me.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you tonight? Are you feeling better?
I am starting to feel better. My voice is a little scratchy and I'm not 100%. I wake up feeling so much better, but by mid-afternoon, I'm kind of like, the energy starts going down. Guys, Dr. Jada is an MD doctor, FYI. That's why I immediately start talking to her like she's my doctor, because she is.
We went right in, right?
Right.
We did. We just locked in like, okay, tell me about this. How's this going?
Yeah, what are the symptoms? What's going on? But yeah, I'm starting to feel a little bit better, but I'm definitely not 100% yet. I don't know what it feels like. Complication from like allergies, like sinus infection, and I don't know. It's been crazy. But anyway, so how has your Tuesday been, Jada?
My day has been great. I've had some great meetings, some great connections today. Did some personal stuff this afternoon. As a CEO, there's never this separation of personal and professional. We've got to get it in where we can fit it in, and so I had a nice little combination today. So how about you?
Well, first of all, you know what? Before we just keep talking as if everyone just knows who you are, right? Um, Dr. Jada, please introduce yourself to the CEO Sister Society audience. Who are you? What do you do? What do you specialize in? What type of businesses do you own?
Well, that's probably a good place to start, right? So I'm
Yeah.
Dr. Jada Moore-Ruffin. I am a health and wellness expert. I'm a physician by training. My work now largely centers around helping high achieving and results driven women just like you to not only physically weigh less, but to further your personal success, whether it's through my medical weight loss programs or my signature coaching, Girl Get Ready, my retreats, online content, or even the book. I'm a best-selling author of the book, Girl Get Ready to Lose the Damn Weight. So if I had to say in summary, I am a women's empowerment, a women's health, self-development, kind of support, if you will, a thought partner, life coach, of course, abundant life path, life coaching graduate. So I'm certified there in addition to the work that I do in medicine. I think it's a really complementary relationship of what I get to help women traverse to go through and beyond when it comes to living your best life, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and even, in a lot of ways, financially, looking at ways that we can grow not only our bottom line in our businesses, but how can we get that to grow? So investment is another thing that I like to kind of share with people.
Right. So let's talk about now. I want to have like some really real talk, Jada, right? So you go to medical school, you graduate from medical school, you go into your residency, you become a doctor. You were fine.
Okay.
You were fine right where you were at.
Okay. I'm like,
Did I lose you for a second? Or you were good?
Yeah.
Okay. So take us through, because for those of you who don't know, Dr. Jada now, she owns her own practice. But take us through the steps for anyone that's tuning in, that's in the medical industry, whether that be nurse practitioner, whether that be MD, because there's now, I mean, Jada, there's just so many options that existed now in these different industries that did not exist 20 and 30 years ago, right? Like, if you're a doctor now, you can be an entrepreneurial doctor. You don't have to be on call at the hospital, and you don't have to only open up your own practice. There's just so many different things you can do. Take us a little bit through your journey of kind of that traditional route, which was only existed when you went to school and graduated, right? Up to now, where it's like you're doing so many different things underneath the umbrella of Dr. Jada, if that makes
Yes, I
sense.
completely get it. So you're absolutely right. So this year is my 27th year in medicine, my 27th year as an MD. And you're absolutely right. When I started out, it was pick one of these few specialties and go off and work for somebody. That was essentially the grooming in medical school and in residency. It was like, get a job, go somewhere and work. Pretty much like any other profession, work for a long time and retire. So what has evolved over the last 2.5, almost 3 decades is that the container that healthcare has been living through or living in it's not working. Let's just say it's not a healthcare system, it's a sick care system. And a lot of physicians who have gone into healthcare for the sake of really helping people felt like one arm, if not both, were tied behind their backs. The other flip side of that is you are only groomed to work for someone and not even given the slightest insight into what it would take to start your own practice. So, or any other career path other than working, being employed, unless you are from an entrepreneurial family or you're a second generation doctor, maybe there's a pathway there. But for most, if you had an entrepreneurial side, there was no support there. So fast forward, the system isn't working for a lot more people. And so the newer generations of doctors are not even, always able to stay in it or interested in being a physician for 30, 40 years and then retiring. So it's been a breath of fresh air in some ways because it's busting up, there's a disruption, pretty much like there are in other industries. And we're seeing such an explosion of new opportunities as physicians, whether that's brand ambassadors, media, being in the media, being authors, being entrepreneurs in other spaces. In other words, leveraging your degree, your credentials to be able to step into other spaces. Coaching,
Yeah.
even, it's a wonderful relationship between, as Rebecca says to me, doctoring and coaching, a wonderful relationship. So there are so many ways now that people that are in the medical field, whether it's nurses, teaching, so many things that can be done now to round out not only the medical, leveraging the medical professional degree, but all of who you are and what you bring to the career.
Right. And I think that speaks also to the opportunities that there exist in the marketplace across all these different industries, right? That now with there being so many media opportunities, content creation, right? I mean, there's the opportunity to be able to create income in ways that just never existed before. And I know that I think Jada, when I've talked to, that I've trained several doctors who have come through my coaching certification. I've trained lots of nurses who have come through getting their coaching certifications. And well, even more so than doctors, nurses tend to be very successful in coaching. I think doctors, there could be a harder transition into embracing a different identity than doctoring, right? We talked about that. But there's just so much opportunity. And I think that if you had to be like really brutally honest with yourself about with your entrepreneurial journey, your CEO journey, what do you think has been the hardest in your transition from being an employee mindset, even as a doctor? I think the average person in society thinks of doctors as, being such a prestigious career path, right? You guys are helping to save lives, you're helping to make a difference, life and death type of decision making. And I think that sometimes we can forget that doctors are employees like 95% of the time, right? Like, so when it comes to making that transition in medicine, in the medical and health industry, into your CEO role, right? What do you think has been some of the hardest obstacles you faced in finding success entrepreneurially as a medical professional?
That's a great question. And I think you tapped on it just a little bit, so I'll expound on it. One of the things is identity. So, and I think that would be the similar if you were re-careering, so to speak, because that's what it's almost like. It's like re-careering. So imagine if you've been an educator for X number of years, 20 years, and now you're going to begin coaching or consulting. It feels like something new. And so it's breaking away from this very sculpted and rigid identity of I'm a doctor and this is what doctors do. This is what doctors look like. This is how they speak. This is what they don't do. This is where they show up. This is where they can't. And so a lot of rigidity around this identity, which has been enculturation. It's acculturating. And the second thing I would say is that in many of those employed roles, you're not accustomed to having to go and find your customer, right? Insurance
Right.
finds them for you and they drop on your doorstep. And so the whole idea about the revenue cycle and what it really takes to attract a new customer, take a customer through your process and all of those things. So it's not so much like I can doctor with the best of them. It took me some years to figure out how to run a business though. And so there's a lot of lumps and bumps that come along with it. And if you've been accustomed to a six-figure income and you're starting over from zero and you're having to really make personal sacrifices and having to feel inadequate when that's not a doctor feeling, you're supposed to know the answers, baby. You can't come up here talking about maybe, possibly, could be. Not in the era that I was trained under. So, I think stepping away from that, recognizing the type of help and support that is necessary to advance financially and to still enjoy what you deliver to people. So if you can get so caught up in the learning curve of entrepreneurship that there could be a disconnect between what you actually are bringing to your customer, your client, your patient. And especially like we talked about before, if there's some expansion in what you're doing. So maybe it's not all clinical. Maybe there's a clinical component, maybe there's a non-clinical component, like in my case, practicing medicine on one hand, but also developing a coaching business where we're not always talking about medical things. We're talking about other areas of mindset, building confidence, believing in yourself. How do you develop spiritually? How do you develop emotional intelligence and the emotional capacity to be able to care for yourself and let that then spill over into the overflow of your business development? Because a lot of people that I work with are entrepreneurs, they are business leaders, they are successful corporate leaders.
Right. And that brings me into another question and an area of your expertise is you work a lot of your clients and patients are high performing, high achieving professional women. And, I think that we fall under a very unique demographic of women. And in your experience, if we just begin to talk about women in business, high achieving women, ambitious women, driven women, the women like us who are starting businesses, the women who are in CEO Sister Society, joining CEO Sister Talk, when it comes to our health, Jada, when it comes to the coaching and the medical work that you do with our demographic of women, what would you say is some of the key things that we need to be keeping in mind as we're going after our financial and professional goals? What do you see that you've got to help women like myself, women like your other patients and clients with the most?
It's with the prioritization of self. As the brand, the face of the brand, as the leader of your business. This sun is coming in crazy on me, so I'm sorry, y'all. But really being able to acknowledge that you have to put effort, energy, and invest time into your own personal development and building yourself up. So, and what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, if you don't feel well, your energy is low, you don't feel good about how you look, you don't want to go on camera, you don't want to go to your photo shoots, you don't want to be seen on stage, you got a whole production that you got to go through. If somebody invites you to, come to an event, we want you to speak, and you're not feeling good in your body. I don't know what I'm going to wear. I can't wear anything. So all of these things that are put on the back burner until it's time to show up. So now instead of saying, I'm ready physically, I'm ready mentally, my mind, I just need to show up and give it all I got, It's this other thing about, well, blah, blah, blah. And so, but then still not making time for that. And I think a lot of people, a lot of the women that I work with are probably not maximizing their potential in their business, not maximizing how they or who they show up as, not maximizing their presence when they are at the table, because other dynamics and other things are going on. So I think prioritizing physical health and well-being, obviously I'm going to say that, but I'm telling you, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. So as much as we take coaching programs to learn how to get more customers, social media, how to do more of this, always remember that it's just as important for you to develop yourself as it is for you to develop your business. So if that means more healing so that you feel good about what you're sharing with people. There are times that I'll go dark on social while I'm, getting myself together. There's some things that I'm uncovering, I'm unroofing, I'm letting myself go through some processes to heal. So when I show up authentically. I don't have anything to hide. I'm not.
I know.
Yes.
Listen, I don't even know how. I guess I don't know if we follow anybody closely enough to know when they disappear on us for short amounts of time or something. I just know that for myself, Jada, for my own personal well-being, I can't live on social media. You can't live in the spotlight 24/7 and perform in the spotlight. You have got to have times of recovery and quiet and times to yourself. And I think that, one of the things that's really hard is that we live in a society that is pushing us constantly to perform.
Yes.
Just this constant pressure. And social media makes you feel like if you take any downtime, you're behind. It makes you feel like you're always behind anyway.
Yeah.
That you're not where you're supposed to be and other people are killing it and you're not. And it's just this constant like rat race, as if it wasn't bad enough in this, in America, even before that, right? But and I think one of the things I know, Jada, you and I have talked about a lot is balance and being able to be happy behind the scenes, not just on camera, right? To have an authentic, organic, abundant life off camera, right? When you're not on stage, when you're not on camera. And I think that's a whole different ball game, right? To be healthy, mind, body, and spirit, and perform well in your business. And I think that we often tend to have a disconnect with not understanding how all of this is connected.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. And for me, there's an unwillingness to show up any other way than my truth. And so this whole dynamic that we watch on social media and in the media of these two dichotomous lives, these parallel lives where, you know, you're one person in the front of the camera and you got a whole shit show going on behind the camera. I'm not signed up for that. I didn't register for that. I didn't subscribe to that. That's not my interest. I don't pretend to have more than I have. I don't want to sell people, you know, what do they call it? A bill of whatever, a box of rocks,
Right.
and say that it's a 24-inch TV or whatever, you know. So I totally agree that in our kind of, somebody mentioned here, women in corporate, we don't realize that we are not men. We are hormonally different, and you know, some people would shoot us down if we talked about, you know, female inferiority. And so this is not what I'm talking about. What I am saying, though, is being in tune enough with yourself to know your seasons of output and your seasons of input. And so that's something that I've really learned as an entrepreneur and as a maturing woman, is that I used to kind of get upset when I wasn't boom, boom, boom. I wasn't all the way on, and I would have these moments where I just couldn't go out and deliver at the level that I wanted to. And I had to understand my own rhythm, is that I had to know that there are times when I can give, I can go. And then there are times when I need to fortify myself. I need to fill my cup. And so I've learned to be respectful of that. And I believe that is an act of self-care.
I agree. And I also think there's power, because from Aishwarya, I'm trying to say your name, sweetheart, she talked about we don't have the same hormonal cycle as men. And, you know, how do you work as an entrepreneur when we're cycle tracking, and how do we navigate, you know, when we're hormonally so different and going through these different cycles. And I will say that I think as women, we have to recognize that our differences are powers, they're strengths, right? Like, and just because someone or a man or someone different than you can look like they can perform on 100 every day doesn't mean that they're really performing on 100 every day, right? So spiritually speaking, I have found that when I relax and I actually allow things to flow, and I'm not super grind and hustle and make it happen, and we gotta get, you know, we gotta make this money, and we gotta, when I lean into my feminine, when I lean into my nurturing, relaxed ease, is when more flows, right? And so I think that some of what has been pushed on us is this narrative to compete on a level that is very masculine in nature, and that's not who we are. And we have found across all aspects of society that there's now this realization as women that that is not how we're winning, right? This is not winning. Like, operating purely in imbalanced masculine without a, you know, balance of the feminine, that we are not thriving. And so I've intentionally been leaning in. Jada, you know that as my friend. You know, I've been leaning into ease and flow now for several years. And not saying that that is easy, because we've been so programmed and indoctrinated, you know, to hustle and work so hard. That it, you know, for me to stop being a workaholic and to learn to lean into trusting God, lean into my faith, lean into balance, like that four-letter word, balance. It's like, but I really like it over here, right? It's really nice over here, guys, you know? And Jada, that brings me to another question. In business, there are stages, right? There are stages in business, there's levels to business. If you had to give some advice to the entrepreneurial woman in her 20s or 30s right now, what's a piece of advice you would want to give to our younger women who are starting out in business, who are, you know, just trying to get some things off the ground? What would be some of your advice?
One thing would be to be very clear on what your desires are, because we are so heavily influenced by, I hate to keep saying social media, but those around us. Sometimes we borrow other people's ideas of success. And so what I would say is get very clear on what's really important to you. What do you really want? And focus, be good with that. Be really good with that and be really intentional and focused on that, and anticipate that out of that healthy, good, authentic, strong place of power, that your overflow is coming. So I would say be really careful about the comparison trap. Be really careful about borrowing other people's ideas of success. If being a millionaire is, you know, is a strong desire for you, where does that come from, and what are you willing to do for that, and what are you willing to, in some cases, sacrifice? So, and I say that because, Rebecca, I see a lot of women now in my office and in my coaching programs who they have achieved some levels of success when it comes to their professional lives. Maybe their money is close to where they want it to be, and they're still not happy. They're still not content with where they are in life. Many of them, and this is not about every woman has to be married or booed up, but they are often single, perpetually single, and they don't desire it. They are often women who have not had children, and they desire it, or at one point desired it. And there were certain things that they didn't even want to do in their career path, that they kept going in that direction because that seemed to be the right thing to do. And they sacrificed many years of unhappiness and unsatisfied because that seemed to be the thing to do. And now there's a time of reckoning, and all of that for what? So it's so anticlimactic. So I would say to the woman in her 20s, really get clear on what you want in your life. And your career is a component of that.
Right.
Your professional success is a component of that.
Correct. Gina, for clarification, Gina was asking, she was saying, Gina, they do desire it. They want children. They want to be married. They want to have a significant other, but can't seem to be able to keep that, get that, and keep that in their life, or we're not able to achieve that in their life despite the professional success. So it's one thing if you don't want children and you don't want to be married, you know, and it's fine. You're living your best, you know, who's the famous auntie now, that Ashanti, you're living your best Ashanti life, right? You in your 30s and 40s now, never had any kids, never got married, and you constantly look like you're on vacation. Okay, you're living your best life, that you didn't want it. But, you know, she's saying that her clients do want these things, but just have not been able to have these things. And so it's a desire. As you were talking there, I've seen a couple, just this week, I've seen a couple posts from some, what generation would early 30s be, like 32? Is the millennials?
That's still the millennials, yes.
It's still millennials. I'm seeing posts from very successful millennials. What I consider very successful is you're definitely making six figures or even into that first tier of seven figures as a millennial entrepreneur. And I've seen some posts this week that are speaking to where they thought they would be in their business right now versus where they're at. And there was one post in particular from a young woman who's married. She had her first child a couple years ago, and she's pregnant, getting ready to have another child. And she made a post saying, this is how I thought 2023 was going to go, and I thought I was going to double or triple my income for this year. And I ended up getting really honest with myself about what I want, what I don't want, and had to scrap most of those projections for 2023 because she realized she didn't really even want it, right? Because, guys, at a certain point, there's got to be balance to say, you know, if you do want to be a wife and you do want to be a mother and you do want to have time for friends and downtime, I think that one of the biggest lies that the women's empowerment movement has created is that you can have it all. And there's not any cost involved. That, in other words, you can be an 8-figure mompreneur and have these small children at home and you're cooking dinner every night for your husband, and so you got a happy husband at home too, and you're somehow wearing all these different hats and doing it all so well that you have happy marriage, happy healthy children, and a happy healthy self. Guys, listen, comment. Jada and I are both married. Jada's been just had her 27th wedding anniversary.
27th.
27th.
Yeah.
Jada's been married 27 years. I've been married 8 years. You guys know this is my third marriage. We both have 3 children each who are now grown. All of our kids are grown. I'm going to tell you right now, there's stuff that has fallen through the cracks. As CEO women, I had to stop and realize that when I was killing it in my business, my marriage was going down the tubes. And then when you pivot to focus on your marriage because you don't want to lose your marriage, you're not focusing on your business. When you are focusing on the business, you're not being there for your kids the way you realize you wanted to be or should have been. I mean, guys, there is just so much give and take inside of all of this. And I think that one of the things that the reasons it's been created is because we're pushing so hard. We are shooting for goals that we're looking for validation or seeking some level of success so we can say we made it. Right? I'm making $10 million a year, but I'm on the brink of divorce, right? Like, my kids are suffering, right? Like what? And I think that's the stuff that people aren't real about, Jada.
That's it. And I think you're absolutely correct when we think about having it all or some version of it all. And I think, was it Oprah that says, you know, having it all, but maybe not always at the same time. So, and what does having it all mean to you? I think I go back to being very clear on what you want. I know so often when I'm working with women and asking a simple question, and maybe this is something for the CEO audience here, the other sisters are, if you were asked right now, what do you really want? Are you clear on that? What do you want for your personal life? What do you want for your family life? What do you want in general? Because usually when I ask that question, people start talking about everybody else. Well, I want my kids to be able to grow up with this. I want to have generational wealth, so my kids and grandkids. So there's always this dynamic of what do we truly want, and ensuring that, again, that's truly your soul's desire. And then how do you bring those things forward in a way that you feel elements of that along the journey? So often we are so focused on the future that we do lose sight of things while we're on that path or on that journey. So taking the time to spend time with your children, taking the time to spend time developing your marriage. Like I mentioned earlier that I did some professional stuff, did some work stuff, and then this afternoon did some personal stuff. So me and my husband had a coaching session with our marriage coach. And so as we go into another season of life as empty nesters, what does that look like? What is that going to require of us? What type of game plan do we now need to be attentive to and buy into together as a unit, so that those things that we want to do, be, and have are actualized? So you mentioned different phases and stages of your business. Because there is no separation, we have to look at the impact and the association of those phases and stages in our own lives as well, our personal lives.
I agree. And someone asked in the comments, can we have it all? And I think that you can definitely have a version of it all. I think that if we were to know the truth of when you see people performing at very, very high levels, ladies, what we have to remember is that a lot of us have become the men that we were taught to grow up and marry. We were raised to marry men like us. And as much as we don't like to hear that, right? I pay a lot of attention to relationship dynamics. I pay a lot of attention to the younger millennial women who are already making millions, and I look at their relationship dynamics, and I look at who are they married to, what role does their husband play in their business model, business structure, what type of husband are they married to. I am literally paying attention to all these details all the time. Guys, do you realize that a lot of your millennial or even highly successful women, even from Jada and I's generation, are either not married, or if they are married to a man who is in more of a supportive role to their spotlight, to their business, like Joyce Myers, right? Her husband is the president of her company. He is literally formerly an engineer. I went and studied this couple because I want to understand how these relationships are working and the dynamics of these different relationships, to understand how do people make it work. A lot of your younger millennial women have married men who are their CFOs. They're the CFOs in their companies.
Yeah.
If you go do a little digging, guys, you will see that she's not gotten there being a traditional woman. She's not the traditional wife and mother that's got to be doing all the normal expectations of a wife and a mother, and still running a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Mm-hmm. Because running a multi-million-dollar enterprise is very demanding. Somebody said Pinky Cole. Mm-hmm. She's another example, mm-hmm. right? I can name some right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said Tab and Chance. Tabitha Brown.
Tab and Chance, right? Manifestation Babe is another one that comes to mind, that her husband's the CFO of her business. And it's not just the millennials, like I said, Joyce Myers. You look at Oprah and why she said she would never get married, or why she did not marry Stedman. Why is he still just a boyfriend, guys? Because she said that the instant they would have gotten married, that their expectations of each other would have changed, and she would have not been able to accomplish what she felt like God put her on earth to do. After years, she said, of doing her show and being around wives and mothers, right? And literally listening to women and mothers saying, I can't do what I know I want to do on earth and manage those roles effectively and do them well.
That's right. And what roles are you willing to give over if you are, because maintaining 100% of leadership of everything if it's possible, it's a bit exhausting. So if you've chosen motherhood at a certain point in your entrepreneurial career, when you are not with your business, when you are not with your child, who's tending your business? When you are with your business, who's tending your child? So what things are we willing to be fluid with, I suppose? And then there are certain points in your entrepreneurial journey where you're looking at, first of all, childcare these days is hitting you over the head, neck, back, shoulders, and it all. Bringing nannies into the picture, which a lot of, some of the people, the millennial heirs are bringing other people in for support. How does that feel to you? How does that push up against your traditional way of thinking? Where does that settle in your finances? I think there's this need to really be clear that what I desire to have it all, what exactly is the it?
Yes. What does that really look like in real life in a practical way? Because guess what, ladies? If you marry a traditional man and who you want to make more money than you, and you want him to be able to have the capacity to take care of you, and you then, well, he has some expectations of his own that come along with him paying 90% of the bills and taking care of things. There's just a lot that goes into all of this, because one of the things I think that's so important to remember is that women being in these roles of having so much power and titles and income is all still fairly new historically, guys. This is very new. And this is why our relationships have been turned upside down. It's why navigating all of these different roles and everything that we have going on, is, I've said it for a few years now, we're in the middle of a relationship revolution. Because as women, we are creating new identities. We're creating new job descriptions for our lives, and this is just all very, very new to navigate.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Was there a question back there, Jada?
I'm getting message at the same time. So at the very same time, it's a beautiful time to see so many can you see me?
Yep.
Okay.
You're good. I'm just looking for questions.
Yeah, it's a beautiful time to, I think, definitely in your earlier years, invest in your business and use we talked about this before, what you're earning, putting that money to work in investing. So I think this dialogue is very healthy to say, think about these things and think about them in depth sooner rather than later, so that as you say, well, what do I want to have now, and what do I want to set myself up to have? I believe it was T.D. Jakes, I want to say, did this sermon years ago, and he said, what you're doing in your 20s sets you up for your 30s. What you're doing in your 30s sets you up for your 40s. What you're doing in your 40s sets you up for your 50s, and so on and so forth. So if we look at it, and I find that to be absolutely true, because it takes so much to develop things, despite the instant success that we're seeing on social media. True business development, a foundation, a strong foundation that doesn't have you breaking your back. It takes time. It takes consistency to build something sustainable. And so as you're going through those phases and seasons in life, what do you really want to focus on in those phases and seasons? And how can you still set yourself up for a healthy future?
I agree. And I think that one of the things I would also say, and we've talked about this, Jada, is that for the younger people on now with us, it is so important that you diversify your goals. You diversify how you plan to create wealth and income, right? It's one thing to start a business, and it's something else entirely to be in your 40s and 50s and you're getting tired, right? You've got to have other streams of income. You've got to have passive streams of income. You've got to have income that now is built on investments, income that is going to be bringing you a return without you having to work hard. Because as you're getting older, it's so important that you're not killing yourself to continue to supply yourself or provide yourself with the level of lifestyle you're used to. You now need some money that's a little bit easier money.
Mm-hmm. Especially as a solopreneur or having, a small team, that being able to forecast and realize that you have to prepare for your future, even when that cash flow in the moment is looking real good and real juicy and it seems like it won't end. You're in your drip season, it's all coming together, that we still as entrepreneurs, because there's no pension coming, there's no, Social Security is not going to cut it. And so much of what we were taught in old school finances are probably not gonna take us the long haul through our latter years as entrepreneurs. So it's really important to be sensitive to that and attuned to that sooner rather than later in your business. How does your business begin to create leverage for you to have business investments? So not just personal investments, eventually able to run your retirement through your business. A lot of times we're looking at taking home so much more. How do you begin to tax shelter some of that so that it actually becomes an advantage for you versus a disadvantage? So there are a lot of things that we do have to apply as entrepreneurs, because there's no pot of money just waiting, and a traditional savings account is not going to cut it.
No, not at all. And I think that when it comes to modern business, when you look at us right now in 2023, just remember that, back to the point Jada just made, scaling up a business, building a business takes time. There is not, like, if you keep finding yourself trying to do these get rich quick type schemes, that's what it is. It's a scheme. It's not a business plan, or it's fraud. It's like, so, reminding yourself that real true business is about working a business, seeing what works, tweaking it, right? Repeating the success again and again, and then scaling that by taking what works and discarding what doesn't, or what works for you and discarding what doesn't, and continuing to grow in those strengths, right? Or duplicate that success. And I think that, especially, Jada, we keep coming back to social media, but it's like it's the number one influence, in the world right now. And it's just so easy to forget that tried and true business is built on building a blueprint, building a success formula for what works for you in your business. You're a very unique person, you are an individual, you own a business. It's unlike anything else because it's you in your business, and finding what works for you, your family, your lifestyle, your desires, your goals is very unique to you. And not giving into these, like I said, get rich quick schemes where you're trying to manipulate the system, to get to a next level of success and skip these steps. I would say that's been one of the things I've witnessed personally, among people I've known closely who are in business who have not built sustainability, have not built consistency, is simply because they're not doing the things that it takes to maintain success long term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And which requires intentionality, and again, going back to what success looks like for you as an individual. And I will tell you, one of the ways that you can see the benefits of what you're doing and the foundation is when you start to go to the next level, when you start to look at investments, when you start to see, what does it take for me to qualify for this if I'm using other people's money. And I know that people will say it's easy, just use other people's money, it's easy, we can get your business credit, shoot it through the roof and all of these things. Be very
You can get $100,000 business credit tomorrow after you open this account today.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Not how it works. And when you get it, you better be ready to do something amazing with it, because when that interest comes behind you, you'll be taking the same $100,000 to pay the monthly mortgage, which is what it is, on that business credit if you're not leveraging it and using it the right way. So there's so many things that we have to do. And I think out of this, we say is to be patient, to be strategic, to be consistent. Those are business principles that build a sustainable business. It's not the
discipline.
And discipline.
I think one of the things my middle son is starting a logistics and trucking company, and talking to him in some conversations this past week, Jada, it's been like so much fun. It's brand new business. He's getting started. He's so excited. And as we began to talk about some things, we began to talk about taxes, right? We began to talk about expenses. We began to talk about all the overhead, so these profits, where he's excited if he's making, $200-300 a day, he's 24, guys. And so, it's like, okay, I'm making this profit in this business. And it's like, well, this isn't really the profit, right? That's the gross, but you've got to hold money back. You can't live on all of this money, right? Because it's not profit. And I think that, one of the things you can really look at doing for those of you who are new to business or even been in business for a while, take a business class, right? Take a basics business class that teaches you about taxes, teaches you about overhead, profit and loss, right? Because it's one of the things I think that when it comes to entrepreneurship, you can have a great idea, a great product or service, you take it to market and you can start making money, but you can get in trouble really quickly, especially if you have a business that takes off and you don't realize how much tax really catches up with you. If you're spending all the money, you can be in trouble really quickly. I know we've covered so many different topics tonight, Jada. This has really been some CEO girl talk, guys. Like, we're really covering so many different topics. Jada, our hour has just flown by. Any last thoughts? Anything you want to leave the audience with as we wrap up?
I think I'll end it the way that I started it. And this is the doctor side. This is the coach side of the CEO thing. It's just really being very clear and intentional about your health. Your health really is your wealth. Your health heavily influences your wealth building potential. Your physical body is your primary piece of equipment as a business owner. whether that and in any and every way, that visibility in a lot of ways is necessary. So building yourself up to be where you know that you should be as a representative of your business, the best representative. Take care of your health. Take care of your mental space. Be very clear on building emotional capacity. We don't want to rely on food as our best friend to help us, get rid of our sorrows and overextend our celebrations. We really want to have a healthy lifestyle so that we feel high energy, we're high vibing. We feel like we can bring our A game to our business, and our business takes it and runs with it. Yeah. So just don't put you on the back burner. If there's anything that's not working in your business, it starts with who? Starts with
you. Yeah, you. Dr. Jada, thank you so much. Where can everyone find you? What do you have going on? If someone needs to work with you, can we send them to your link on your Instagram?
You can send them to my link on my Instagram at DrJadaMD, at Dr. Jada MD. My link tree is there. You can make a medical appointment, you can make a coaching consultation. You can grab the book there. Everything is right there. And I emphasize, Rebecca, Dr. JADAMD, because I saw on Instagram just the other day, there's a Dr. Jade. So one letter is different.
Jada. Oh, okay. Dr. Jada MD. I just posted it in the comments, guys. Please make sure you go follow her. Click on a link, book a consultation today, get her book, sign up for her coaching programs. Guys, whatever it is you're needing when it comes to mind, body, spirit, health, and well-being, make sure you connect with her, guys. She's been a game changer in my life when it comes to helping me balance my hormones, when it comes to helping me balance my health, along with my wealth, right? So that this has been the secret sauce, guys, behind me getting my weight under control and everything. She's absolutely amazing. You guys make sure you check her out as well. Dr. Jada, thank you so much for joining CEO Sister Talk. Clarissa and I appreciate you so much, and we love you. And blessings in abundance. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. Thank you guys for everything coming on. Thanks for all your comments and support, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.